You know, I have a shoulder rig and I have a gimbal. What if I try to turn it into one rig? So, I've been doing a little bit of research and a little bit of experimenting. And basically, you guys have already seen my camera setup. I talked about it in the last video, but here's the deal. Because I have a shoulder rig for this setup. So this is kind of what it looks like. Obviously, it's a little bit different when I'm actually doing it. I typically have the other handle down right here. Everything's a little different when I actually have it in a shoulder rig orientation. But I also have a gimbal. I have a Ronin RS3 Pro. Now, shoulder rigs are notorious for being helpful with, first of all, saving your back. Second of all, steadier shots. I have a short film that I'm supposed to be filming this weekend, and I need to be able to do a oneer. The whole film is not a oneer, but there's a scene in it that needs to be a oneer. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to use the shoulder rig, but I want it to have some gimbal stabilization. Quick scene change and also some setting changes. I'm really hoping that the quality in the video is the same because I changed a few settings, but back to the main point. If you've heard of the movie The Creator, it was directed by Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards is notorious for being a camera operator as well. Well, that movie in particular is important because on the set of that movie, they used a Sony FX3 and they rigged it out in like 7 different ways because they bought like 9 of them. One of the rigs was very interesting. I'll have a picture of it somewhere. But this rig is a shoulder rig with a gimbal on it. So I've heard of this rig being referred to as a scorpion rig. So it's good for like all around run and gun setups. Like you can go to your shoulder, you can then go with a low shot because it has a top handle. It's kind of perfect in a few senses, in a few ways, and I've wanted to recreate it for a long time. I'm not sure how versatile it really is, but I want to try it. So we've had the rig built out for a little over a month. I have to put on the batteries and configure it a little bit more. We have the Ronin RS3 Pro on a Tilta shoulder rig. We have a V-mount plate on the back and we have a V-mount plate underneath the front axis. And then we got a PortKeys monitor on the left, a wireless receiver on the handle, and then we're gonna put another battery right here. All right, so we got the gimbal set up. Now we got to get some lights situated and ready to go. And hope and pray that the gimbal doesn't unbalance itself again. It is prone to doing that. So let's go shoot this short film. I'm shooting this a little bit out of order. So basically, I already shot the film, or at least the parts of the film that we're going to be using with this rig. There's a couple different methods to get a smoother shot. First, you can take whatever camera you have and just rig it out to its max capacity so it's heavier, which means that you'll be able to get smoother shots, because if you have lighter gear that's smaller, it's easier to have a shaky shot. But if you're able to rig it out and make the camera package a lot bigger and have more points of contact with your body, so say you're holding it with 2 hands and you have it resting against your chest, you'll be able to get smoother shots. Another way to get stabler shots, especially if you're walking with somebody trying to track them, is having your camera on a shoulder rig. You're able to get those 3 points of contact where you're holding it traditionally with 2 hands and you have it resting on your shoulder. Now, as I explained, in the movie The Creator, they had a gimbal on a shoulder rig. So the whole idea behind me building this was the ability to do shoulder rig shots that were completely stabilized, along with having a top handle to be able to get just handheld looking shots. I also have the ability to lock the gimbal and keep it in one spot, kind of like how I have it now, so that I can also fully control it, but also the ability to run around and get smooth walking tracking shots. Now, while we were shooting on our first scene, some of the first shots we were getting, it kept just shutting down and I could not figure out why. And I found out that my roll axis had somehow unlocked itself, which I'm not really sure how, and that it was pulled all the way out. So it was completely unbalanced. Luckily, I had pre-balanced my gimbal before I put it on the shoulder rig, and I was able to reset it, and it worked the rest of the time. But that was one flaw that ended up happening that ended up setting me back just a few minutes. I was able to figure it out, but regardless, it was annoying. The shoulder rig I own is from Tilta. It is the lightweight shoulder rig from Tilta. I have only had this shoulder rig for a short amount of time, and I've also barely gotten to use it for any of my films. But overall, the shoulder rig has been amazing. I love it. Tilta, if you're watching this, I love your product. You should talk. Then I have the DJI Ronin RS3 Pro. I have a PortKeys LH7P monitor. Also, all the gear that's going to be talked about has already been in another video. I did a whole video breaking down my handheld rig. So all of the camera stuff will be everything in that video. Let me talk about the most important part about this rig that actually allows me to put my gimbal on the shoulder rig. A couple months ago, Neewer, which is the brand that makes my V-mount battery, released a gimbal mount that basically locks on to the two side NATO rails, has a quick release plate, but also has 1/4-20 threads in the quick release plate. So I was able to mount an actual Tilta quick release plate, because Tilta's weird like that, onto the mount, put the gimbal on there, and then mount the gimbal onto the shoulder rig. So if it wasn't for Neewer creating this product, I actually would not have built this, because the whole system to be able to build this without the Neewer product is 8 times more expensive. And the part that Neewer made is $23 or I don't know, 30 bucks. I really wanted to challenge myself with making it. Now, I had no specific reason to make this rig other than the fact that I wanted to try it. Also, because this is such a hefty, big rig, it is very heavy. It actually, I'm gonna talk about another point where that's kind of a problem. It allows me to get a lot smoother shots when the gimbal is locked. So basically, I can take this off my tripod. So now I have the top handle. Technically, I did mount this back handle. It's also technically the tripod that you put on the bottom of the gimbal when you're using just the normal gimbal. So I put that on the back. I also, in my last video explaining my whole handheld rig, I told you guys that I took this pad and put it on the back of my handheld rig so that I could put it into my chest so it was a little bit softer so I could get smoother tracking shots. Well, I put that back on the shoulder rig so that I could hang it on my shoulder, which made traveling a lot easier because now I can just, boom, on my shoulder. Technically, I can just let go and now it's still gonna stay there. It's a little risky, but it works. And then of course, back up and tracking. I got my monitor right here, so I was able to track everything. The cable management is a little bit poor, but it works. But there's a lot of handle solutions here. I got both these front handles. I have technically 2 top handles. I have the Ronin top handle, and then I just have the Ronin grip, and then I have the back handle. But of course, there are a lot of other places you can put your hands. A lot of times I would be grabbing the arms of the shoulder rig. Sometimes you can use the back, but it's really whatever I needed to use to get the smoothest shot. Now let's talk about one more of the challenges this gimbal has with a film setup. This gimbal setup hates my tripod, or vice versa. The tripod I have is a great tripod from SmallRig, but it is not rated for this weight capacity, and not to mention that it's not fully balanced. If I unlock it right now, it's gonna just lean all the way forward, watch. And it's not even subtle. I'm holding it back so it doesn't go faster. There's not enough weight on the back of this, so this is absolutely not recommended. You should always try to have your setup balanced on your tripod, because you do not want to unlock your tripod and have it just slam forward or go all the way off, because That's dangerous for the camera. You could fall off, you don't know. This tripod is not weight rated for this setup, and it's also just completely unbalanced. Now, the last thing I'm gonna talk about is just the overall experience. This setup was a dream. Now, the director wrote and choreographed a scene that involved a pretty lengthy oneer. This involved me and the audio moving between like 7 different conversations. I mean, you tell me how the shot looks, but the camera rig was able to handle it. But overall, with this setup, it was a pretty good experience. It had its learning curves, it had its struggles, but I was able to figure it out. And I think that my work can speak for itself, and you guys can make up your mind, but I think it was worth trying. And would I do it again? Maybe, but hopefully by that point, I'll have a little bit more gear and a couple more things I can add on to this. But overall, this experience was good. So I'm going to leave links to this entire setup. You can get all of it on Amazon. I'm gonna leave links to the entire setup in the description. I hope you enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. Let me know in the comments other videos you want to see, because I will try and test out and do things to help you guys. That is what this channel is about. I am here to help the upcoming filmmakers and to constantly increase my knowledge and abilities. So if you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments. Send an emoji. Now go off, start trying some things, do some filmmaking, and have a good day.